This video covers section 9.9, the complex number system, objective 5, evaluate the powers of I. This entire section, 9.9, relies on the one fact that I squared is -1. We have the imaginary unit I, which is just I. We have the I squared, which is -1. So I to the first is just I, and I squared is -1. And I cubed, once we get into higher powers, I cubed is I squared times I, and I squared is -1, and I is just I, so this gives us -I. And I to the fourth is our favorite one because that's an I squared times an I squared. And when you take -1 times -1, you get 1. So I to the fourth gets us back to 1. And now watch the pattern. I to the fifth is I to the fourth times I. I to the fourth is 1 times I is I. So in all of these higher powers, we're looking for our I to the fourth, and then what's left over? 2 of them. I to the fourth is 1, and I squared is -1. This gives us -1. So look at this column. These are going to be all of our I's. This column is going to be all of our -1s. I to the seventh is 4 I's and 3 more. I to the fourth is 1, and I cubed is -I, giving us -I. This column is going to be all of our -I's. This column is our favorite one. I to the eighth is I to the fourth times I to the fourth, which is 1 times 1, or 1. This column is all of our 1s. Because I to the ninth now is I to the fourth squared, or I to the eighth times I, and I to the fourth is 1, squared is 1, times I is I. I to the 10th is I to the fourth squared. That's 8 of them, which makes 2 more. That's 1 times I squared, which is -1 because I squared is -1. I to the 11th, it has an I to the fourth squared, or 8 of them. There's 3 left over. And anytime you have the I to the fourth, it goes away as a 1 times I cubed, which is -I, which gives us -I. I to the 12th is I to the fourth cubed. That's 1 cubed, or 1. So when you look at these numbers in the first column, these are all of your numbers that have a remainder of 1 when I divide by 4. 9 divided by 4 is 2, times 4 is 8, remainder 1. These numbers all have a remainder of 2. 10 divided by 4 is 2, times 4 is 8, remainder 2. These numbers all have a remainder of 3. 11 divided by 4 is 2, times 4 is 8, remainder 3. And these all have a remainder of 0 because 12 is divisible by 4. And so to simplify large powers of I, you divide the exponent by 4, and then what's left over is the remainder. So if I have 53, divided by 4, 4 goes into 5 once, remainder 1, bring down the 3. 4 goes into 13, 2 times 4 is 8. Sorry, let's use 3 times 4 is 12. That's remainder 1. That's because we can say that this is I to the 4th raised to the 13th power. That's 52 of them. And there's one I left over. And the answers are either going to be I squared, which is -1, I cubed, which is -I, or 1. Remainder 1, remainder 2, remainder 3, remainder 0. So we just get I. 131. 4 goes into 13. 3 times 4 is 12. Remainder 1. Bring down the 11. 2 times 4 is 8. Remainder 3. So this one is I to the 4th to the 32nd power. That's 128 of them. There's 3 of them left over. I cubed. These go to 1. And we're just left with I cubed. And the I cubes go back to negative i's. I to the 72. 72 divided by 4. 4 goes to 7 once. Remainder 3. And 4 goes to 32 8 times. This is I to the 4th raised to the 18th power, which is just 1. The remainder 0, and you get 1. So here are 2 for you to try. I encourage you to press pause in your video and work these out, and come back when you're ready to see this solution. I to the 26. We want to figure out how many multiples of 4 are in 26. 6 of those makes 24, so there's remainder 2. So we have I to the 4th is 6. That's 24 of them. And there's 2 more. We break out the I to the 4th because those are just 1. That's 1 times I squared, and I squared is -1. I to the 45. 4 goes into 45, or 4 goes into 4 once. And 4 goes into 5 once. That's a remainder of 1. So we have 11 multiples of 4. That's 44 of them. Leaves 1 more I remaining. And the I to the 4th is 1 times I is just I. So we say that this is cyclical. You start with I, and then you have I squared, which is -1. I cubed, which is -I, and then I to the 4th, which is 1. I to the 5th sits here, I to the 6th, I to the 7th, I to the 8th, I to the 9th, I to the 10th, I to the 11th, I to the 12th. You keep going back around 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26. You keep counting around until you get to the 45, and you'll see that you end up here at the 45. So 1 of 4 answers on these powers of I, kind of like the seasons. 4 different seasons that keep coming back. And this concludes the video for section 9.9, the complex number system. Objective 5, evaluate the powers of I.